people of the internet. Yesterday I did a piece about some recently released January 6th footage that Tucker Carlson put out. And there's been quite a response to that. A lot of people are attacking Tucker Carlson personally, and all he did was put out video that no one saw before. So it's very telling, the responses. And what I think is really interesting is both the Democrat and Republican leadership in Congress, condemned Tucker and said this was not good. So the whole Uniparty narrative is kind of really rearing its ugly head at this point. There was one particular response. Well, there are a couple things I wanted to cover as a follow-up to this. So the first thing is, let's watch what Chuck Schumer said in response to this. This is a little bit from Tucker Carlson's follow-up.
In free countries, governments do not lie about protests as a pretext to gain more power for themselves. They don't selectively edit videos for propaganda services and then lie about them in fake hearings and show trials. But that's exactly what happened. And every member of Congress should ask why that happened. But Democrats in the Senate, the Democratic leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, is not asking why. Instead, Chuck Schumer went on the Senate floor today to explode and to say that showing that video, evidence of wrongdoing by the federal government, including the security forces, the police department that Nancy Pelosi personally controlled, letting the public see any of that is a threat to democracy. Watch.
Last night, millions of Americans tuned in to one of the most shameful hours we have ever seen on cable television. Fox News host Tucker Carlson ran a lengthy segment last night arguing the January 6th Capitol attack was not a violent insurrection. I don't think I've ever seen a primetime cable news anchor manipulate his viewers the way Mr. Carlson did last night. I don't think I've ever seen an anchor treat the American people and American democracy with such disdain.
There's nothing that shameful that has ever appeared on American television in the history of the medium. And so, on the basis of that, the self-evident outrage of showing the public video that it paid for and has a right to see, Chuck Schumer called for the censorship of that video. Any information, and he did not dispute that it was accurate, that damages a storyline his party constructed and used must be squelched. And Schumer was explicit on that point. Because that video contradicted lies told by the Democratic Party, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, Chuck Schumer demanded that our bosses pull this show off the air.
He's going to come back tonight with another segment. Fox News should tell him not to. Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, tell Carlson not to run a second segment of lies. I urge Fox News to order Carlson to cease propagating the big lie on his network and to level with their viewers about the truth behind the efforts to mislead the public. Conduct like theirs is just asking for another January 6th to happen.
Look at these drama queens. Look at this. Okay, so let's break this down. First of all, look at Chuck Schumer. Tucker Carlson, I want to speak to your manager. Chuck, ultimate Karen Schumer out there saying he wants to talk to the manager, basically, to Tucker Carlson. Let's also talk about the reality that Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN all have major ownership stakes by BlackRock and Vanguard. This idea that somehow Fox News is this unique propaganda station. Now, I will give it this. Fox News definitely started the polarization of media that we have today because they were the first network to come out and say, like, we're the Republican news channel. We only serve the Republicans. And then everyone else had to catch up to that. You know, they came out with Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity and all these crazy pro-Republican business type shows. And then as a response, MSNBC and had to be created, And CNN always tried to play the middle ground, like, oh, we're in the middle, we're just the good news. But they're obviously slanted to, the Democratic way of thinking these days. And what's crazy is the Democratic way of thinking these days is right wing. So this idea that somehow, Fox is this unique fascist threat or whatever, it's hilarious. It's laughable at best. And these people are really showing their whole asses out here by doing this. So not only did Chuck Schumer come out and condemn this, but Mitch McConnell did. A bunch of the Republicans in Congress came out and condemned it. And I just wanted to show you a couple clips that Tucker didn't show because they're not. So the thing that's interesting here is what Tucker is showing is video that was taken by surveillance cameras at the Capitol. So that footage, on the whole, should have been used during the committee hearings. So the idea that this footage was sat on, especially the footage of the shaman guy being walked around by the cops, the idea that this footage was sat on and suppressed is criminal. Let's be honest. And that's why they're upset. That's why they're afraid that it's coming out now, because they obviously manufactured a narrative. And this isn't saying that. I think Chucky went to the extreme here and said that Tucker is insisting that there was no violent insurrection. Well, there was clearly some violence that happened. I mean, you could see it. But the question now is, how prevalent was it? And were there feds instigating it? Because there's a lot of evidence of that I'm going to show you right now. But also, the people who committed crimes that day were already tried and arrested or acquitted in most cases. A lot of them are still sitting in jail. And, that's fine. If you got someone, that's due process. If you got video of someone smashing a window or, taking a dump on Nancy Pelosi's desk or whatever, put them in jail. That's illegal. They shouldn't be doing that. But this idea that this footage that's public surveillance footage of a public building should be suppressed and is okay to be suppressed is a joke. And you can mute Tucker Carlson and ignore everything he says and just watch the footage he's showing and get the same results. So them attacking him is very telling. So anyway, check this out. This is a clip from a Twitter user where, watch this. This guy is beating on the window, and he has a giant Trump sticker on the back of his helmet. On the back of his helmet. Like he's obviously trying to be seen as a Trump supporter. That's not suspicious, is it? And so in this video, the guy's hammering on the window, and this guy in a red MAGA hat, a MAGA terrorist, comes up and tackles the guy and pulls him down from the window. So two things that I think are hilarious about this clip. First is there's a woman in the background you can hear screaming, "Antifa, Antifa," at the cop who's breaking the window. Conservatives think these agent provocateurs are Antifa because they're show up in all black and start breaking things. Nah, lady, those are cops. And in this case, the people surrounding the guy are supporting him, and it's pretty clear. Why would you put a giant Trump sticker on the back of your helmet? First of all, the guy's wearing a helmet. I mean, that's a dead giveaway right there. Second of all, he's got a giant Trump sticker on the back of it, not the front. And he's banging on a window. It's just, it's comic. It's comical. It's comically hilarious. So that's the first clip. And then here's another clip from this guy, Kanekoa the Great. It looks like he lifted it from the Epoch Times. But this is another user-generated camera video where there's a guy taking out a window in the Capitol. And this dude comes up to him.
Because I think that'd probably be illegal. Oh, I know about my glasses. I got my... I'm just picking up drugs.
So in this other clip, these guys are standing around this window, and this guy's literally taking the window out. And this other dude goes up to him and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the guy shoves him and starts messing with him and blames him for the window. Watch this.
Do not go in there.
So that's interesting. You don't ever see this. You never saw this footage in any of the trials they did before. So Tucker has all this footage that's from the actual security cameras. These are just... And what's interesting about these is these people were banned from Twitter until just recently, until Elon Musk took the platform over and they started unbanning people. And, you know, I don't think that Elon Musk is the savior of free speech or anything, but there were definitely a couple of these accounts that had videos, and even Trump. It's like you couldn't see Trump's tweets because he was banned. So you couldn't see his tweets where he was saying on January 6th, "Hey, be nice, don't hurt the cops or don't do anything violent." Trump was urging caution with people too. And so then you have this video of the police opening the gates for people, and you can clearly see this guy go over and open the gates and let them in. So all this stuff just kind of adds up, and the way that this has been obfuscated and the way that this stuff was sat on, the real story here isn't even the footage as much as the reaction to it and the way these people came out and so vehemently against the transparency, people being able to see footage that they've never been able to see before. Because I think Tucker says this in his intro to the clip, sunlight is the best disinfectant. So get the footage out there. And I saw Thomas Massey in another interview saying he thinks that citizens should be able to pour over the footage. They should release all of it to everybody and make it all public. And then people like me can go over it on YouTube, and people like you. People can share clips of it on social media and whatnot. That's the way it should be, really. And I don't know why Tucker Carlson got the scoop. Maybe because the Freedom Caucus people who were able to get this concession out of McCarthy, because McCarthy didn't want to release this. I haven't read any of his statements on this, but he seems like he's more in line with McConnell. He's a company man. He's out here probably trying to suppress this stuff more than he is cheering for it. But I think another thing that's important to remember when you look at this footage is we were all locked down at this time, and we had to be social distanced. Everybody was in their house. You weren't supposed to talk to anyone. You were only supposed to watch approved news sources because of misinformation. So it was a very interesting kind of time where we were all cooped up and forced to live inside this media bubble and be fed information from the outside. And January 6th was one of those things that was a tightly media-controlled narrative with information being fed to us, and now we're able to see the rest of the narrative. And why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? That's what you should ask yourself. So anyway, I wanted to end this by showing this clip again of Matt Gaetz talking about how the terror budget, the security budget, has been turned inwards, and it's now being used on Americans, and how they're constantly looking for threats to go after, to spend billions of dollars on. So here's that.
In a bill, they even got more funding, and they're saying that they're going to be doubling the amount of people that they already arrested.
Can you guys? I had a whistleblower come to me and talk about how these specialized units that have FBI, CIA, that were targeted at extremism in, Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, all over the world, that now those very same teams and those very same tools and those very same national security authorities are exclusively being turned inward, to instead of finding, somebody that's building a bomb to blow up an embassy abroad, they're like, analyzing what some guy who lives in his mom's basement is putting on his blog that's read by tens of people. Yeah. And then that now, after they were turned inward as a result of this omnibus spending legislation, they are flooded with cash. I mean, just so much money that is now in the hands of these people who wake up every day saying, how can I go find a white supremacist extremist to hunt down? And, if you create an industry of witch hunters, right, like you're going to find more witches, like even if they're not actually witches.
So anyway, partisan politics aside, personal opinions of Tucker Carlson aside, mute the sound and watch this video because it's very telling, and look at the response to it. The way these people are responding to it, because it's very telling.